Hello everyone, welcome to the England Hockey League preview podcast for week 5, and it's double-header weekend. I'm Andy Day, your host. Later on, we welcome Charlie Newsome, manager of Wimbledon men's first team, for this week's interview. We'll focus this week mostly on the Saturday games, with a look towards several standout fixtures for Sunday later on. So with that in mind, let's begin with the Women's Premier fixtures for Saturday the 19th of October. The midday fixture is Sutton Coldfield University of Nottingham. At 12:15, Clifton Robinsons play Loughborough Students. 1:30 for Bowdoin University of Birmingham. 2 o'clock for Surbiton Hampstead and Westminster. 3:30 for Wimbledon East Grinstead. And 4 o'clock for Holcombe and Reading. Reading are the only side with a 100% win record going into doubleheader weekend. They travel to Holcombe. Goals have been flowing freely for Reading. Abby Dixon versus University of Birmingham and Mia Moore versus Sutton Coldfield, scoring 2 of the 3 hat-tricks in the Women's Premier Division this season. Holcombe started the season brightly but have lost the last 2. Can the hosts get back to winning ways, or will Reading take their perfect record into Sunday? 2 teams that have won 3 of their 4 opening fixtures meet at Sugden Road. Surbiton play Hampstead and Westminster in what I feel could be the game of the round. The teams are in 2nd and 3rd place at the start of the weekend. This, of course, is a repeat of the Championship final game back in April, where Surbiton won the title. Plenty to play for, and I'm sure a victory for each team would be considered a statement win. The history books are against Hampstead and Westminster in this fixture, but a newly written page is only a game away. Sutton Coldfield are at home at midday and are the sole team yet to pick up any points. They face a University of Nottingham side that travelled down the M42 with a very mixed start to the season behind them. An opening day win, followed by 2 defeats, and then last week's draw against Clifton Robinsons. This is the first ever meeting in the league between these sides. Which team will secure the first points? Bowdoin and University of Birmingham are level on points and next to each other in the table. Bowdoin ahead by 1 goal in the goal difference column. Both teams have 2 wins and 2 losses. Bowdoin come into this game on a run of 2 wins on the spin, and University of Birmingham winners last week. Level in the table, and also inseparable last time out in a 2-2 draw 13 months ago. Expect a close encounter here. Clifton Robinsons are at home on Saturday and will be happier getting their opening point on the board last weekend. Clifton Robinsons are looking for their first home win since February, and visitors Loughborough Students' 4 points have all been collected away from home. A win here could provide a balance for either side. Completing Saturday's fixtures is Wimbledon versus East Grinstead. Wimbledon won away at Surbiton, then were beaten by Bowdoin 3-0 at home last weekend, so results in recent weeks have been varied for the home side. East Grinstead enter the weekend in 4th place and saw their perfect record come to an end last Saturday with a home defeat to Surbiton. Both of these teams will surely be playing with a point to prove on Saturday. This is the way that Sunday the 20th looks like in the Women's Premier. 1 o'clock is East Grinstead Holcombe. 2:30 for Bowdoin Sutton Coldfield, 2:30 also for Hampstead and Westminster Wimbledon, and the same time for University of Birmingham Clifton Robinsons, 3 o'clock for Loughborough Students University of Nottingham, and 3:30 for Reading Surbiton. Given that there's such a quick turnaround between the games, let's focus on 2 of the Sunday matches. Reading versus Surbiton at Sonning Lane looks big. Reading did the double over Surbiton last season, and the outcome of this fixture could really make a statement to the rest of the league. Surbiton have recovered from the defeat at home, and Reading contest their top 6 credentials. I have a feeling that we'll see something special at University of Birmingham versus Clifton Robinsons. There's something about the double-header and recent results for both teams that this could be Sunday's match of the day. There's a new name at the top of the women's goal-scoring table. University of Nottingham's Maddie Axford now leads the way with 5 in 4 games, including a brace of goals in her last 2 matches. This is the way that Saturday the 19th looks in the men's Premier Division. Starting us off at 4:30, Oxted, Cardiff and Met. 5 o'clock, Richmond Bowdoin. 5:30, Wimbledon East Grinstead. 6 p.m. for Old Georgians Beeston. 6 p.m. for Southgate, Hampstead and Westminster. And 6:30 for Holcombe Surbiton. The 2 promoted teams meet at Richmond. Both teams have recently had some heavy defeats, however this looks like an opportunity for a debut win for both sides since their promotions in the summer. It's also a first ever meeting in the league between the sides. I'm anticipating a really committed fixture with no shortage of skill. This will be a great watch. Old Georgians lead the way with 4 wins from 4 and 31 goals in the bank already. They host an unbeaten and resilient Beeston side that came from behind twice last Saturday to draw against an impressive Oxted side. No clean sheet for either side yet in 2024-25, and Henry Croft for Beeston, Sam Ward and Tom Carson for Old Georgians have scored in every match this season. Will we see a continuation of those streaks on Saturday? Holcombe versus Surbiton looks like a great fixture, both teams having won 3 games this season, and despite Holcombe losing last weekend to the champions, they impressed with their approach from being 3 down to bringing it back to 3-2. Looking at recent results for both sides, goals look guaranteed. Wimbledon are at home to East Grinstead on Saturday, with the home side winning their games either side of their EHL adventure, and East Grinstead on a 2-game winning run of their own. This is a meeting of 2 teams in good form. This fixture has been won 2-0 by Wimbledon in the last 2 seasons. What might be the outcome this weekend? I've been able to watch Oxted and Cardiff and Met this season, and there are good things about the way both teams play. Speed in the counter-attack and strong pressing a common link between the 2 clubs. Oxted are on a good unbeaten run. Cardiff and Met are seeking a 2nd victory this season, but as we know, are travel specialists. This makes for a fascinating watch and is my men's pick of the day. Finally, Hampstead and Westminster travel across London to Southgate, who are yet to win points this season. The visitors were big winners away last weekend at Bowden, 8-0, and while Southgate went 2 down at Wimbledon, they did mount a comeback to bring the scores level again before conceding later on in the game. Plenty to look forward to in this one. Sunday the 20th fixtures for the men. 3 games at 2 o'clock. Cardiff and Met Richmond, Oxted Old Georgians and Surbiton Beeston. 2:30 is Southgate Bowden. 3 o'clock for East Grinstead Holcombe, and 4:30 for Hampstead and Westminster and Wimbledon. Again, picking 2 fixtures to look at in detail. Southgate versus Bowden, a match that could be a springboard for the season for the winner. Potentially a lot at stake given how Saturday's results could change the table. It's a tricky weekend for the Bees with Old Georgians and Surbiton on consecutive days. It'll be an interesting yardstick to see how Beeston tackle this game. Might there be a first victory here since 2018? Nick Park has scored for both teams in this fixture in recent years. Sam Ward remains top scorer in the men's Premier and is the first player to reach double figures for the season after just 4 matches. He's on 10. Don't forget to visit England Hockey's socials for full listings of games and details of where games are being streamed. Time to check in with Charlie Newsom, Men's One's manager at Wimbledon. Tell us about your journey into hockey, Charlie.
So I've always been a lover of hockey, played it quite a few years ago, really enjoyed the game. My daughter, and both my sons play as well, but my daughter played for the ladies' twos for Wimbledon a few years ago, and they didn't have a manager, so I took on the role of being their manager. And I obviously did quite a good job at it because Wimbledon asked me at the end of the season if I'd like to take on the job of managing the men's ones, and I thought to myself, this is a job you only get to ask once to do, and it's something I immensely enjoy, and I enjoy, and I think it's an immense privilege to be able to be sort of inside the change room, inside the huddle of an elite team.
Tell us about your season so far.
I think, early season, it's always difficult to get a good handle of where the team is. Carl Stagno, our coach, he has a fantastic reputation in hockey, and he's very pragmatic. He's one of the hardest working men I've ever come across, and he lives and breathes hockey, and always talks about building towards the end of the season. I mean, our first aim obviously is to make top 6. We should be able to do that. We've got a very young, dynamic team. We've got some young players, and a good deal of experience. But our first target is make top 6.
And looking ahead to this weekend's fixture, it's a double header, of course. It's East Grinstead on Saturday, and then a trip to Hampstead and Westminster on Sunday. Do you approach this any differently than a usual week?
obviously we're just off 2 weeks ago. We're off playing at EHL, which is again, to get to EHL and play in that competition is great for the boys. They really enjoy the level of competition, but it takes a lot out of the team. We had a fairly hard weekend last weekend after the weekend after EHL, which I think gave people a little bit of a wake-up call. A double header is always tough, and particularly when in a season you always pick up some injuries, and we're trying to manage those all the time. But there's always one or two players we wish we had, and they come and get over their injuries. Hockey seems to attract them. But all the boys take their hockey very seriously, and we're hopeful and looking forward to 2 good games this weekend.
What was it like in the camp trying to lift the players after the KO8 a week ago?
Playing in EHL is something the boys really, really want and desire. We played on Saturday. We played Western Wildcats. And I think they were a bit disappointed with the way they performed against Wildcats. But actually, looking back at it and having looked at the game again, they were a good team and gave us a good game. We were pleased to come out of it with a win. We then played Surbiton on Sunday, who were also a good team, and playing back to back at that level is tough. They were disappointed. Perhaps they made 1 or 2 mistakes in the game and let in some perhaps slightly soft goals. But I thought we played to a credit to ourselves. It's a shame we're not going on in Easter next year, but I don't think we did badly.
It's all progress. It's all pointing in the right direction.
Clearly, it's about the journey, and you are going to have some good games and bad games. We talk about the Wimbledon train, and getting that going and really hitting our marks by the end of the season. And really pushing for it.
We were speaking before we press record about some of the youthful elements of your squad. Is there any players or several players you might like to highlight?
Oh, we've got lots. We've taken several from over the years from Exeter, and we've also taken Fred Newbold, who's been out in Germany. 1 or 2 have got some sort of niggly injuries at the moment. I don't really want to pick out one in particular, but Carl knows his. Many of the players Carl knows and have coached over many years, and he keeps an eye on them as they go off to university and come back from university, and they know Carl, have a great deal of respect for what he does, and I'm really prepared to work under him.
Sounds like you've got a great community spirit at Wimbledon at the moment as well.
Well, it's something we try and work on. For EHL, we stayed in a hotel. Surbiton's not far from us, from our home games. We didn't need to stay in a hotel, but Carl was really keen that we stayed in a hotel for a couple of nights. We had 2 very nice dinners in the hotel in Teddington, a few miles away, which really brought the team together. We had some really good meetings in a private room. Before the games, and the physio can really get to work there as well, and spend a bit of time with the players, making sure they do all their activation work, which is great. And it's something that we pride ourselves on. Try and get back to the club after games, and have some dinners together. We always have what we call the manager's dinner, where my lovely wife cooks dinner for all the team in early February early mid-February before the outdoor season starts again, to try and make sure we all bring the team together.
Charlie Newsome, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
It's doubleheader weekend. Wrap up warm and enjoy the games. I've been your host, Andy Day. Join me again next week for your essential quick guide to the upcoming fixtures.